We've got, is it Adolf?
Yeah, what's the difference between atheist and agnostic?
Go for it.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on hold because we're getting feedback, but I didn't hang up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, these terms have been used in a number of different ways throughout history. And so if you check dictionaries, you can find different definitions that don't always agree with each other. The best way to think about the difference that I've ever seen was in a book called, and I can't remember the name of the book. I'm so helpful today. Let me just go on and explain the thing. The atheism, the letter prefix A means not or without, and theism is belief in a god or gods. So atheism is about the question of belief, and since it's atheism, it's not belief in a god or gods or without belief in any gods. Okay? Atheism is about belief. Agnosticism, the word Gnostic, the Gnosticism is about knowledge. And so the word atheism is without knowledge of a god. Pardon me?
Agnosticism.
Agnosticism means without knowledge of and it's generally applied to religion. So we assume that we're talking about gods again. So if you're an atheist if you don't believe. You're an agnostic if you don't know. Those are not mutually exclusive things. You can be both. Me, personally, just to give you an example, I am an atheist about every god I've ever heard of, and in some cases, I will say I'm an agnostic about those gods. I've heard about them, and looking at the claims and the evidence, I don't know whether they exist or not, but it seems pretty unlikely, and I don't believe. An agnostic and an atheist. There are other gods, like depending on how they're defined, you can logically disprove them. And so I'm a Gnostic atheist. I claim to know that certain gods don't exist, and therefore I don't believe in them. So it all depends on what god you're talking about. Is that helpful?
I got one more question.
Okay.
Sure.
If there is a god by some remote chance, where does that leave you?
In the same place that it leaves everybody else who doesn't believe in that particular god.
Okay.
I mean, like if the Christian God's true, then I guess all the Buddhists and Hindus and Jews and Raelians are
So that's where
screwed.
atheist comes in.
But if there's some tribe in Africa that's right, then all the rest of them are screwed too.
Right. What if there is a god, and the god that there really is Odin from the Norse mythology, right? And you die and you go to Valhalla, and they don't let you into the big hall of heroes because you weren't a warrior in life and didn't dispose of yourself well and die well in battle, and so you don't get to participate in the great battle of Ragnarok at the end of time. What if? Who knows?
What if, in fact, there's a God, but the conditions for there's no afterlife? Or if there is a God and there is an afterlife, your belief in that God doesn't have any bearing on where you go or what you do. You can come up with any number of hypothetical situations. The only rational perspective, as far as I can tell, is to only believe in those things for which you have good evidentiary basis for belief. And in the case of God and afterlife and supernatural things, the evidence just isn't there. And it's not just that there's a lack of evidence. There's good circumstantial, anecdotal evidence that it's not only not worth believing in, but that these ideas are fundamentally wrong. When you have religions that teach faith as a virtue, that you should disregard good evidence, science, reason, and believe in something just because, that's harmful. You have no way of knowing whether what you're believing in is true or not, and I'd much rather know that my beliefs are as true as possible.
But y'all seem like really good, beautiful, honest people, and y'all got to have some kind of hope that, there's something that we all have in common. And
well, there is something we all have in common. We're all human beings. That's a good start.
All right, well, you answered my questions.
Okay. Well, thanks for your call. That was a decent question. However, you can go and hang up on him, but I want to add that I'm sad to say that the only reason to come at an atheist with a question, with that particular question, right? Oh, what do you think's going to happen to you if you're wrong? Is, if you ask that question and you're not in a position to prove to us that we're wrong, if you can't show by evidence that your God exists and we really ought to believe, then the only reason to ask that question is to try to scare us into signing up. And that's appalling. Just stop and think about it. If that's the best you can do to get people to join your religion, is to try to terrify us with a fear of some kind of horrible afterlife into joining up with your religion, then you really ought to step back and take a good long think about what you believe and why.
It reminds me, we were having a discussion about all of the various things that are wrong with religion, or evil things that have been done in the name of religion or due to religion. And somebody called in to say that, well, in this case we were talking about Christianity, and they called in to say, well, Christianity isn't all bad. And I'm like, if your best selling point is that it's not all bad, you should probably look around for some other options.